Hey guys, so a little while back, my old man Gaza, he asked to do a video on the channel. He's been pretty curious about the channel for a while, to be fair. Um, he introduces pretty much anybody I meet these days if I'm with them and tells them I've got a rugby channel, which is good advertising for me. Not that I tend to do that with strangers personally, but yeah, he's a big rugby man. He's the probably the reason I ever got into rugby. He always used to take me to watch Auckland, and very vocal fan, club rugby man. Used to do club rugby coaching. Used to play when he was a young fella. So yeah, he went ahead and picked his all-time All Blacks 23. I've been sitting on the video for a while because he recorded it a little while back. I was going to edit in all the player pictures and whatnot, but partly some of the older guys are harder to find, and partly I'm a bit lazy. So, yeah, this is Gaz's All Black All Time 23-man squad. So, yeah, let me know what you think, and I'll pass the comments on back to him. But yeah, be nice, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. Enjoy.
I'm Mark's father. Been a rugby nut, rugby scribe all my life, and during these coronavirus times, I thought I'd give him some benefit of my rugby experience of teams I've watched over the last 50 years. So I've chosen a side here of 23 players and 3 coaches, and I'll give them to you from the fullback down. The fullback I've chosen is Christian Cullen. Many of you will know him as a Nine Eye Express or Twinkle Toes. He was such a great player. He had so much time to do stuff. He was just unbelievably quick and so fast that opposition defenders never saw him. The wings that I've picked have been John Kirwan and Julian Severe, both big strong runners, both scored many tries for the All Black. I think 80 plus tries between the two of them. I know there'll be some controversy about some guys I've left out like Jonah Lomu, etc., but that's my pick. The centre I picked was a guy named Joe Stanley. Now, he was very much a guy who wingers actually loved playing outside. He had so much time to do stuff like Christian Cullen, but not quite as fast, that wingers just loved playing outside this guy. He was just absolutely unbelievable. The second 5 I've chosen is a guy named Ma Nonu. You guys will know this guy well. He was a blockbusting, still is, playing in the United States, second 5'8". Very hard to pull down, breaks the line. He does things on the field that I've seen no other second 5 in New Zealand rugby do, and he's a good one. Or he's a great one, actually, and we've had some good ones in our time. The first 5 I've chosen is Dan Carter. Up until recently playing in Japan. Another guy, great kicker, good support player. Did a lot of things on the rugby field. I remember a test, I think it was against the Lions in 2005. He played an 80-minute game. It was such an unbelievable game he played that day. Just a great first 5 and a great goal kicker. Now, the halfback I chose, it was a really hard one to pick, is a guy named Dave Loveridge. A lot of you young guys might not have heard of him, but if you go back a few years and Google him, this guy had a pass. He was just an unbelievable halfback. He was what I would call a cross between Justin Marshall and Aaron Smith, if you can envisage that. He was really, really a great halfback for New Zealand. Now, the hardest position of all for me to pick was number 8. And what I've done here is I've picked a guy from Fairland's side, he was an All Black captain, by the way, named Brian Lahore. He was a mighty number 8. He did a lot of things on the field in those days, in tow with Colin Needs and Wilson Winteray and other guys that I've named in this team. He was just an unbelievable player, unbelievable leader, very, very good. Flankers I've chosen, the first one I've chosen is Richie Mccaw, and he's my captain. Now, we all know he played with a broken foot in the 2011 World Cup final against France. But this guy was he was a sort of captain that I'd never experienced in my lifetime before. Probably the closest one was Wilson Winteray, who I'll get to later. But he just didn't say a lot to players at times. He just needed to look at them and they would follow him. He was an unbelievable flanker on the ground. He was incredible. The other one I've chosen is Jerome Kaino. Now, a lot of you people will know Jerome Kaino. He's a real blockbusting flanker. He did a lot of things on the field that people didn't see. He was just everywhere. This guy did things that, a lot of people wouldn't see what he was actually doing or notice, but he was just unbelievable, particularly when it came to World Cups. Now, the locks I've chosen are Sam White Locke and Colin Meads. Now, Colin Meads, you guys will all know about. He's probably what a lot of people call, particularly the older people like me, the godfather of New Zealand rugby. This guy had such a great career. He passed away not that long ago. He was just an unbelievable player for his time. The other one I've chosen is Sam White Locke. He's played over 100 games, or just on 100, or just over 100 games for the All Blacks. He's probably going to be a future All Black captain. I know he's captained them in the past. He's just a grafter. He's just always there. He's just a great player. The props I've chosen are Wilson Wineray. He was a captain in Fred Allen's coach rugby All Black teams. This guy was another guy who got around the field. He wasn't a show pony or anything. He just did things that, leadership, a bit like Richie Mccaw. He just needed to look at players to follow him, and they always followed. The other prop I've chosen is a guy named Olo Brown. Some of you guys will know Olo Brown. He was the rock in the scrum. This guy could scrum. I've never seen any guy scrum like him, to be honest, in the 50 years I've been following rugby. He was just a quiet, studious, incredibly strong prop. Did his work in the tight, did his work in the loose, and did a lot of things that people never saw. Now, the hooker I've chosen is Sean Fitzpatrick. And a lot of you guys will know this guy. He used to be known as the Mouth because he was always talking to referees. But he was also a great captain and a great player. And he used to aggravate referees like halfbacks do today and in years gone by. He just used to always needle the referees. If he had been a halfback in a previous life, you guys would understand what I'm saying. He was always yapping, but he was also a very great player. Now, the reserves I've chosen, at hooker I've chosen Dane Coles. He's a current All Black. He's had a few injuries, but he is an unbelievable player on the field. He just does so much that, he breaks tackles, he's fast, he's intelligent, he's a bit rough sometimes, but, he's always there. The props I've chosen, you might not have heard of this guy, but his name's Ken Gray. Now, he played in Fred Allen's teams of Wilson Wineray and Colin Meads, etc. And this guy was unbelievably strong. He was a farmer. And at the time, I remember in my younger days, people compared him with Colin Meads as far as rugby nous went, as far as his strength was concerned, his playing ability. He was just a cracking player. The other prop I've chosen is Owen Franks. He's played 100 games for the All Blacks, consistent in the front row, very unlucky not to go to the last World Cup. He should have gone. Not saying they would have won it with him, but he should have gone. Very consistent prop, very strong, does a lot of weightlifting like his brother Ben. Very, very, very good player. The reserve lock I chose was Brodie Retallick. Now, this guy is a lock of all greatness. He just does things on the field that a lot of people, I think, in the modern game they do appreciate it, but he just does things that are incredibly, rugby orientated. He's got a lot of rugby nous. He's very intelligent. He's just always there. You couldn't leave him out of any squad you had. He's just an incredible player. Now, the loose forwards, I've chosen six forwards and two backs of my forwards, which might bring a bit of controversy around, but I'll explain it why. The loose forwards I chosen was Michael Jones. Now, how this guy was explosive. This guy was absolutely everywhere. Even when he busted his knee and he came back and he played blindside flanker, he was a very great player. Really, really great player. I used to love watching him when I used to take my sons to rugby when Auckland had that great Ramfleet Shield era of 61 defences. This guy was just an incredible player. The other one I chose was Buck Shelford, All Black captain. Should have captained the All Blacks, should have had a longer career, but the politics in rugby denied him that. He was such a hard player. If he was playing for North Harbour or the All Blacks, it didn't matter who he was playing for. This guy had so much guts. He just led from the front. He was injured. He hated to come off. He had a couple of real nasty injuries in his career when he was playing for the All Blacks against France. He was also a captain, but he was just an incredible player. He was just great. This guy led from the front. I don't think I've ever seen a number 8 like him the way that he played. He led from the front and everybody just followed. Right, the 2 backs I've chosen are Aaron Smith. I was going to put him in my first 15, but I thought he's a bench player, but he's a great player. He's with the current All Blacks. He's got a great pass. He's got great intelligence on the field. He's yappy. He's got a lot of competition for a spot in New Zealand at the moment because we have a lot of great halfbacks in New Zealand at the moment. But he's just a player that he's just a really good player, great player. The other one I considered was Justin Marshall, but I just slightly favoured Aaron Smith ahead of him. Now, the other back reserve I had was a guy named Ben Smith. Now, this guy, I don't think he's had the full praise that, people should really give him. People should give him. He's probably the one player outside Christian Cullen and Joe Stanley who was close enough in the modern era who had the ability of time when he was playing rugby, like slipping tackles or, passing or setting up tries or scoring tries himself. He's the closest one I've ever seen to Christian Cullen and Joe Stanley for timing on the field. Now, the coaches I've chosen are Fred Allen, who coached the great teams at Wilson Rinnery captain, Graham Henry, who you guys will all know, who coached up to when Auckland were in their Ramfley Shield era, and thereafter when they went to the World Cup, and then they won 2 cups under him and Steve Henson, and he was there. He was a great coach. He was a great coach for Auckland. He's a great coach for the All Blacks. He had his setbacks. Hard man. I've actually met him personally. He's a hard man. He doesn't take fools lightly. But he's got a good rugby brain on him. The other one I chose was Steve Henson. We all know about Steve Henson. 16 years in the job. Had, close to a 90% success rate. Assistant to Graham Henry for 8 years. Great coach. And, in the modern era, he would be, the pick of them. I just want to go back to Fred Allen. He used to have a nickname, the Needle, when he was coaching the Wilson Rinnery All Black teams. And he was the Needle because he was a bit hard. He used to flog his teams. He had a great rugby brain. He was probably a coach before his time. And he was just a fantastic coach. I've seen him in his later years when he was coaching when I was younger. And this guy's just unbelievable. Probably the players of the modern era who are really unlucky not to be in the squad would be Beauden Barrett. We know what a tremendous player he is. His career hasn't finished yet. He's done a lot of great things. And providing he's injury-free, he'll do a lot of great things in the future, as we all know. Probably the unluckiest forward. It was a tough one, but I'd probably choose Zinzan Brook. He was another player in the era of John Kirwan and the great Auckland Ramfley Shield side and great All Black sides. He just dropped goals. He's another one who had a lot of time to do things, and he was a really, really great player in his time. And he's just a guy that I had a lot of respect for when he was playing, and he was very unlucky not to make the squad. Now, in saying that, I'd like to thank Mark for letting me come on his rugby channel, 2 cents worth. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys get something out of what I've said. And by the way, this is only my opinion. So, if you disagree with it, that's fine. And I'd like to sign off now. Thank you very much for listening to me. And cheers. Have a great day. Stay safe. Stay healthy.